There we go. Now we're recording. Okay. What's up,
Yay.
What's up, Crazy Wheels family? Today I'm with Steph of Stefs Rock Show. You may have seen her on MTV and other YouTube channels. I know she had a YouTube channel about 14 years ago, and I was watching some of her old stuff from like when she interviewed Pierce DeVille from 14 years ago. And I didn't realize I was a big fan of yours 14 years ago, but I didn't realize how much I had already watched and seen from when I was in high school.
That is so cool. I'm not gonna lie. I am humbled, and that is badass that you were watching an interview when you were in high school with me with Pierce the Veil. And the fact that I'm still doing this bullshit 21 years later is mind blowing to me. And I grateful, very grateful.
Yeah, so my question when I thought about that and how long I'd been watching you, I had always really wanted to interview you because I was really getting into bands and things like that. So I was really wanting to do what you are already doing because I'm the type of person that manifests what I want to do. So when I would like listen to Deftones or something, I would basically picture myself behind the stage and interviewing them and think about questions I would ask them way before I started doing this, like years ago. So I don't know if you're familiar with the podcast Good Company with Scott Bowling. I've been on his podcast a few times, and he's going to be on mine. So he basically said that I basically give very good interviews because I really think about what I say and what I talk about. So with that being said, how do you stay relevant in what you're doing now versus then? Like, how do you stay relevant that since music has changed and it's so different now?
First of all, I love that manifestation. I'm all about it. I am hippy dippy in the feelings of like, I put the good vibes out there. I say, this is my manifestation for what I want to do this year, my goals this year, and it usually happens. So I am no longer teasing anybody that says shoot for the stars and what they want to do. And I think it'll happen. So I'm like, I want to interview the biggest rock stars ever. My 2025 goal is to have Tim Dillon on, and I think it's going to happen here pretty soon on my podcast. So he's my idol. I'm all about it. I would say staying relevant is just staying up to date, right? Like being good at your craft, knowing what you're doing. I am such a fan of music. I am a fan first and foremost, not even a rock journalist. Like I want to know what bands are touring where. Are they getting along? Are they not? Are they married or unmarried? What's happening in the music scene? So I stay up to date with all of the people reporting the music and to report back to my friends about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, my three favorite things.
Yeah, that's why I named it Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll from watching
Yeah.
your other episodes. And remember when I was in high school, I was like, yeah, that's Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll. So I saw an interview yesterday where you interviewed the director of The Hangover. What was that like, and how did you get that interview?
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to bullshit. We met at a USC talk. I was taken by my friend Josh to watch the Hangover 1 director talk about his movie at USC. And after the talk, we got along so well. I grew up in a House of Representative political family. So it's a very strange um, realm to grow up in. But he grew up in a political family as well. So we started talking about world events and politics and we just hit it off. So we actually dated for over a year. We hooked up on and off for 10 years. So, of course, Tod Phillips was one of those interviews that I totally got because he was my boyfriend at some point, and I look up to him as a writer, director, producer. I think he's so talented.
That's awesome because The Hangover is one of my favorite movies, and I
Me
really
too.
enjoy his outlook on comedy. And I really wanted, I can't remember the name of it, but I really wanted to look in that documentary that he was talking about because that dude sounds crazy as shit.
Gigi Allen, you gotta watch his Gigi Allen documentary because he is the punk rock shocker of it all, right? Like he cut himself and threw shit off the stage. And like, if you want to be rocked as fuck in punk rock, it's gonna be Gigi Allen. You gotta look that up.
That's awesome. With that being said, if you had a movie, like if you're doing all this for 20 years and somebody comes to you and says, okay, we want to make a movie about you, who would you want to play you? And what is the number one sex scene that you would want to recreate since it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll? What hookup would you want to recreate?
I love this question. What a good question. I think, okay, Megan Fox, she's a way hotter version of me, right? Like, I love the dark hair, light eyes. She is such a sex vixen. So, what a privilege would it be to have Megan Fox play anybody? And then it's either going to be a Slipknot I was with Joey Jordison for several years in Wednesday 13, Murder Dolls. It's going to be like a Slipknot orgy, or it's going to be a Tod Phillips orgy where there was 5 girls and Todd, and it was just like so wild in the Hollywood Standard on Sunset Boulevard Hotel. So there's just been so many fun A-list group activities in my 20s a long time ago, but such a good time.
Well, I don't know. I think we've talked about on Instagram. I told you I got on stage with Slipknot illegally, and it was crazy because my friends had ended up fighting like 10 police. And I got punched off the stage by Corey Taylor's security guard because he didn't know I was in a wheelchair and fell 6 foot from the stage. So, yeah, me and Corey Taylor have seen each other eye to eye, and he probably looked at me like I was a fucking idiot because
I'm sorry.
he didn't know I was in a wheelchair, so I've always wanted to talk to Corey Taylor and ask him about that and talk to him and tell him the story because he looked at me like I was a fucking idiot. So the security said, "Do you want to go on stage?" I said, "Yeah, I'm drunk." But I was so drunk I didn't know really what was going on. I kept saying, "Am I going to meet Corey Taylor?" Because I fell. So they knew that if they didn't pick me up, they'd be in a lawsuit. So I'm like, hey, I'm down here. I fell 6 foot. I was black and blue for 2 days, but it felt like I hit a pillow because I was drunk. So I was really thought I was gonna get trampled. So with that being said, what do you think Joey Jordison would have said about something like that, and would he encourage it?
Yeah, I think Joey had a big heart. He really did. He was a very warm, big-hearted individual that was just a sweet person, and he wanted to be there with the fans and be there with everyone and be close to them and help everyone out of all walks of life. So, Joey unfortunately struggled with mental health issues that I have as well. So, not saying he's alone in this, but if he didn't have such an addiction, mental health struggle, he was without drugs and alcohol, like one of the sweetest, most caring people that really wanted to bring everybody up and help everybody out. So it's a bummer when the world loses somebody that has nothing but a pure heart.
Yeah. What is the most fondest memory you have with him? What is something that most people wouldn't know about him that you know?
Okay, the first one that came to mind, right? There's so many, but like that popped into my head first is I'm laying out. He was so sweet. He knew he's so busy, right? He's writing his second Murder Doll album. So he's really busy in and out of the studio. So he said, "Hey, can you invite a girlfriend over to keep you company in my mansion in Hollywood?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I invited my girlfriend Leslie. We would lay out by the pool all day and drink. And he thought it was so funny. And I thought it was so cute. I didn't know he was when he was coming back from the Murder Dolls Women and Children last album recording, and he would put on a mask, a different mask, not like a Joey Jordison, regular mask, like a
Yeah.
weird mask. And I'd be really relaxed, drinking all day out at his pool with my girlfriend Leslie, just chilling, like maybe falling asleep. And he would wake me up with this mask, like screaming in my ear. But it was like his cute way of saying I love you. And I would turn and like kiss the mask, and then I'd be like, he's home, and we would go hang out. So like in a fucked up weird way, it was like Joey being like, "Baby, I'm home," in some creepy mask, and I'm
That's
laying out by the
awesome.
pool, like topless usually.
That's awesome. I remember you saying you were a model on his single and like on his single album. So what was that like? And do you ever look back and say, "Man, I wish I would have done more of this"?
I was just so honored because it was really cute. Like me and Chelsea were dating Wednesday 13 and Joey and living with them for a year. So pretty serious, even though we were younger. And they said they're going to have models audition to pose for the Women and Children last album. And we were getting a little bit jelly. Like we didn't want to admit to the boys and stress them out. But me and Chelsea to each other were like, "Oh man, we don't really want our boys around a bunch of models in Hollywood auditioning for their album. This sucks." And then like an hour later, they said, "Hey guys, like come down. We have something to tell you." And we came down to the living room. They're like, "We're just kidding about the model audition. You are our models. You're our girlfriends. You're going to be in the album." And we're just like blown away because we're not models, right? Like we just love
Yeah,
Wednesday and Joey, and we just are so cheering them on and supportive of them. So the fact that they said we got to be in their album was just, we just felt so safe and solidified. To be honest, to this day, I would have stayed with Joey if he didn't have substance abuse issues, if he didn't have drug and alcohol problems so bad. I wanted to make it work and stay, but I felt like he was choosing the drugs over me, and it really deteriorated us, unfortunately.
Yeah, he had a really. I saw another interview today where you said that his kidneys and stuff were already failing before he was even getting before he was even having
Yeah.
struggles like that.
Yeah, I felt so bad for, like, he's so talented and smart and funny, and he knew he was getting warnings when we were together in 2010 and 2011, and he had all these medications for organs and organ issues, and he just could not stop. He could not
Yeah,
stop, and I felt like I was trying to win a losing battle of somebody that I respected and I looked up to and I loved so hard, but I knew a piece of me was almost like dying and feeling like shit trying to save someone that was not able to save themselves in a weird way.
yeah. So you had to get out there because it was bringing you down too. So now that
Yeah.
now that you're doing this podcast and you're out of radio, are you trying to help local bands or what is your direction for the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't have a direction. Everyone's like, nobody's asking these crazy sexual questions to the bands anymore. Stuff for 6 years, like, we miss your nuts and crazy questions, and I get it. Like, I do. I love outlandish bullshit. So it's just having fun. But I am now in Sacramento, back home, and I do. There's nobody in here. There's nobody in Sacramento, so I do want to help the local music scene for sure. But I'm also connecting back with my LA friends and people that have now moved out to Austin or New York, wherever they're at. So I want to help everyone, but I'm locally based in Sacramento again. So I'm all about this scene.
Yeah, you said you want to. I saw another interview where you said you want to get back in radio. You're getting back in radio this year, going back to the station.
I have my resume at 98 Rock, so they know I'm thirsty, but it is hard. Like, radio DJs don't quit or get fired. It's a hot job, right? It's fun. You get paid to talk. So they know I'm there. I'm in the door. I'm knocking at the door. You know what I mean? Like, we'll see.
So, what's the hardest part? What's the difference between doing a podcast and doing a radio show? And what's the difference? What's the hardest part of each?
So much is different because, okay, radio, you get money right out the gate, right? Like, I was getting paid and it was really fun. And all my interviews were set up. So I'm not doing scheduling and back work. But the podcast, I'm cussing. I'm talking about sex. If I see a reality show that I find fascinating, I have someone on from the reality show. So I have the freedom in the podcast that's phenomenal, but I'm not making money, right? Like, I am doing this purely for fun, purely because I lived in the rock and roll scene for a while. And I think, oh my gosh, I'm older. It'd be neat to bring this experience I had to everyone else. Like, now that I'm in the suburbs, I understand how rare my lifestyle was in LA back in the day. But I do love radio. I don't think it's completely dead as a, way of living or way of rock journalism. But this podcast I'm enjoying. There's no financial gain whatsoever, but I am able to bring the no bullshit, no filteredness to you guys.
Yeah, well, I've noticed that. I learned about you through. Well, I saw that you had Lowell on your podcast, and I had Lowell on my podcast about dating. I don't know if you saw the episode, but we did a thing about dating and how he met his girlfriend on Tinder, and it got like 2,000 views in like 7 days. It blew my mind. I don't know how it
That's
got that far.
legit.
But
That's legit.
how has having someone on your podcast like that really changed your perspective of what people can do, and how do you feel like you're a better representation of the disability community?
I loved Low. I'm so glad I got to have him by. I also am a huge fan of Love on the Spectrum. Like, I'm friends with everyone on the Love on the Spectrum. I wonder if I'm autistic. I haven't been diagnosed exactly, but I have zero filter and I think outside the box as a female, which is very rare. So I've always just wondered if there's something off or different about me, but I just love and accept everybody for our unique personalities and physical and mental differences.
Yeah,
Um, but so I just think everyone needs to look past maybe what could set us apart, and what brings us together is the music. Because, like, let's be real, like, me and Low and me and you, probably we have Slipknot or Murder Dolls and all this stuff in common, and like we dig it and think that's in common. And I don't see differences. I just don't, like, there's not like a, oh, this separates me because, and I like dark humor too. I'll be real, like, there's nothing off the table. You can make fun of me, you could say I was a whore and a cracker and what, and I'll laugh. I'll be like, yeah, okay, I've done it all. This is bullshit. And so I love the, like, ability to make fun of everybody and everything and nobody getting offended.
yeah, that's cool. So have you ever hooked up with anybody in a wheelchair, or have you thought about it, or have you been a?
I haven't, but I have thought about it. Like it's come up, right, on a lot of radio shows and a lot of podcast shows. And that apparently there's been lot of good lovemaking and like great guys that are great in bed and women in wheelchairs. And so it is something I am not opposed to at all. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's not like a deterrent.
Well, my chair can tilt back and do all that kind of stuff and lay back and do all kind of weird shit. So I tell people,
Oh,
I say, what do you want? You want a sex chair? You want. I have a sex chair and a wheelchair in both. Which one do you want?
I love you. Okay, you're
Yeah,
ready to go. You're like, you can tilt it back, lean it back, baby. Let's go.
yeah,
Okay, I
yeah. I can
love
do it.
that.
I can do whatever you need to do. It can be a sex chair. I'm universal. I'm like a universal remote.
You know what a lot of people don't get? Like the dick can still work. The
Yeah,
dick can still work. It's just it's not something that gets in the way. You
we
know what
just
I
need.
mean?
Yeah, we just need extra help to get in position and move us the right way. But once we have that, but so many people don't see past the chair. Like they see the chair, oh, he can't. No, like I can say something to a girl and she think I'm joking. I'm like, no, I'm serious. So it is 10 times harder. So it's cool that you're open to something like that. And I think once you do it, you can really be an advocate for somebody like that.
I be down like I said, I've done a lot of crazy shit in my life. There's just not anything to hold me back. I've never met a guy in a wheelchair in real life. You know what I mean? So it just
Yeah,
hasn't come across me. But I have been in a lot of wild situations, and I'm all about personality and connecting mentally and connecting on a deeper level. And then once you connect, that's when people are like, oh, you fucked rock stars. I've never met someone and been like, oh, you're a rock star, that's when I fuck you at all.
yeah.
We've literally connected off the interview on a deeper level, and that's how it has manifested into something on a more serious level.
So how long did it take you to really get to know a rock star? Like, do you really connect with them for a while? Or you're like, all right, let's give it a few days.
I really connect for a few days. I'll be honest. So I've never had a one night stand, which I think freaks everybody out because of my wild past. But I'm not like
Wow.
I just met you. Let's have sex. Um, I've only connected with like 4 people that I've ever interviewed out of thousands. So it just doesn't happen very often at all. But Jake from Blackville Brides, Joey from Slipknot, Joey Fatone of NSYNC, and then recently McLaughy have been the only 4 that I've had by the show. And afterwards, we're like, oh, we have similar childhoods. We have similar rough parenting. We have a lot in common. We have things that we have been through or music tastes that are in common. And we vibed hard. And then we started, kind of like hooking up
Yeah,
after a date. Like I usually go to dinner, I usually kick it, I usually get to know them for a second. I just need to feel safe. It's like I'm a very sexual person, and I think it's interesting because I lead with sex, but I also want to feel emotionally safe and
yeah.
like I want to connect on a deeper level spiritually before I take it there physically. Because once I do, oh, I get addicted. I'm not like a hook up with everyone. I'm like a if I hook up with you, that's my world. That's it. I'm obsessed.
You get like clingy. You're like your mind
Yes.
for a while. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So have you ever met Tommy Lee and would you hook up with him?
Okay, I get this asked a lot. That's so funny. And I love Brittany. She's a buddy of mine and she's killing it on her podcast. But no, I've interviewed Tommy Lee. I think he's a great musician and a great person, but I'm not a size queen. And seeing his video with honking the horn with Pamela Anderson
Yeah.
scares me. I'm not about it like that's scary.
Yeah, I'm a huge Tommy Lee fan, and I told you, I don't know if you remember, but I told you on Instagram, I'm actually going to write a book. So he had a conversation with his dick, so I'm going to have a conversation with a wheelchair and let it tell me things that it's taught me. Like he learned things from his dick, I learned from my wheelchair. So it's a comparison I took away.
That's hilarious. I love that you're learning from it though.
I call myself Tommy Lee anyway because I'm so crazy. I'm like, yeah. If my sister said, yeah, if you weren't in that chair and could walk and get up and run like some of your other friends, you'd probably be on drugs and fucked up too.
So it's probably good you have a little bit of something grounding you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I've done stuff. I just because I'm on medication, I've always been scared to go all out. But I have had my fair share of experiences. So yeah.
That's good. I feel you. I like the slow life now though, to be honest. Like as much as I had the fast life in my 20s, in like my 30s and 40s, I love my green tea and staying home at night and getting sleep. Like I do like my chill life.
Yeah, but that fast life comes out every now and then. I know it does for me, especially if a female's involved. It wants to come out.
I feel you. Like tonight, I'm hosting Still Panther, and it is my old fashioned ways. It's what happened 15 years ago. So I know tonight's gonna get a little bit wild. It's gonna get a little loose.
Awesome. What do you hope happens tonight? When you say wild, what do you hope happens?
I know I'm gonna be on stage, and I absolutely love Michael Starr slash Ralph to death. And so I feel like because I started the flashing, isn't that crazy? Like I started the original flashing with Still Panther in 2009 at the Viper Room. I know I'm probably going to flash, and I haven't for several years because they're my bros. Like I love those boys to death, and I think it would be full circle for 16 years later to flash on stage again with them. So I
That's
think that's going to
awesome.
happen.
So does it just happen? Do they tell you when they're out on stage, or you're just like, fuck it, here we go?
They're not expecting it from me. They're not asking for it from me. Like, I know I'm going to jump up on stage. I'm going to host. I'm going to say, like, thank you for coming to Sacramento. I'm so proud of you guys. And I just feel like it should happen full circle. It's one of those things that it's like 16 years ago, I started flashing at the Viper Room in Hollywood. So I might just like get the girls out and be like, welcome to Sacramento, guys. I've raised 2 kids and breastfed 2 kids. I'm still flashing, you know?
That's awesome. Well, you got the titties to do it, so why not do it?
Exactly. They're there and they're big and beautiful. So I might as well share them with the world.
Exactly. So as I wrap this up, what is something that you hope people take away from interviewing people like Lowe?
I hope they take away that disability has nothing to do with talent. He's such a good singer and involvement and incredible, and he's fearless. And you seem very fearless as well. So, not being afraid to be yourself and love the metal and rock scene and take chances and take risks in life.
Oh yeah, well my favorite thing is to jump out of airplanes. I've done it 3 times, and I've been I was in a documentary that went all the way to the White House, and they had me jump out of airplanes, ride motorcycles, all kind of shit. The dude was like, "You jump out of airplanes?" I said, "Yeah, I've done it 3 times. I'm cool. Let's do it."
That's so I jumped once at 18 because I had to, and I was so scared shitless, and I don't think I would do it again. But I am an adrenaline junkie. But that is so cool that you've done it multiple times.
Oh yeah, so you said you had to. What do you mean you had to? Was it
Like,
for like?
I went through so, okay, I grew up in a Catholic, very conservative family where I couldn't leave the house. So at 18, I wanted to jump out of an airplane, do cocaine and ecstasy. I just went to college. I got so drunk. I was just on a mission. I couldn't go to a slumber party or date. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I couldn't have a boyfriend. So when I turned 18, there was gambling and skydiving and drinking. I wanted to do everything I wasn't allowed to do because I had such a strict parents that were horrible fucking shitty parents. Like
Yeah.
story of
So
everyone's life right in the middle.
yeah. So with that being said, what was the craziest Hollywood party you ever went to?
God, there's so many. That's a hard and it's hard. Do we want to do a disheartening crazy or a fun crazy, right?
Yeah, let's do a fun crazy. What was the most
Yeah,
fun?
because there's disheartening crazy where you're like, fuck, I should have called the cops, but I was so young and I don't know what's going on, right? Which is like, holy shit, now that I'm a mom, that was too it was a Diddy party, right? And I'm in the corner like I'm so young and I'm like 20 and I don't know what's going on. But then there's like fun. So the director, Tod Phillips, for sure, was so fun. Like the hangover, I feel like is not that far away from his life. So we kicked it on and off, like I said, for 10 years, and we had several instances. But one, he got the penthouse suite at the Standard in Hollywood. And he said, baby girl, I want all of your friends. So it was 5 of my friends and me on Todd. And we got bottles of like Ace of Spade, $1,000 champagne. And we just all got weird and loose and crazy and drugs involved and got weird at the Standard. And then he was like, I'll leave my credit card on file for 2 days. I got to get back to the Hangover 2 to like, direct it and record it and
Yeah,
get on it. And we just stayed on his credit card there for a couple days after this orgy with like a lot of women and him. And that was probably one of my wilder
that's
times.
awesome. Yeah, my aunt's been in that world, not as crazy as you and not as long, but she was in like Stroke Race, and she met Lonnie Anderson and met Burt Reynolds, and she was in If the House is Rocking, Don't Come a Knocking. She was in that video. So yeah, I heard
I
some of
love
the
it.
yeah, and she grew up with Morgan Rose too, so I met him a few times. and got met his girlfriend's mom and got drumsticks and tickets and stuff. So yeah, I've done a lot myself.
That's badass. That's what I try to joke with my kids. I'm like, you know how lucky you are to be in Germany Rock Magazine being held up by Five Finger Death Punch? And my kids are like, we don't care. Like, they don't understand the shit that they've got to do is so legit and rare.
Yeah, I actually saw Five Finger Death Punch for the first time last year.
They're cool. They're really cool dudes. They're talented.
That's cool. They're another band that I hope to interview one day and talk to and get their perspective.
Yeah, be so.
Well, it was good talking to you, and thank you for your time. And this is Getting Crazy with Crazy Wills.
Thank you so much for having me on.
No problem.